The ranch woke up before the sun. The sky was still gray, and the air felt sharp and cold. Sam moved through the yard with the same routine he followed every day. He checked the water troughs, spread hay, and listened for the familiar sounds that told him everything was normal. But that morning, one sound was missing. Dusty, the old brown mare, always came first when Sam carried feed. She was not fast, but she was steady. She never wandered far, and she never skipped breakfast. Sam stood near the gate with the bucket in his hand and waited a few seconds. No hoof steps. He scanned the field. Most of the herd was gathered near the fence line, heads down, eating. Sam's eyes moved across the grass, past the shrubs, toward the trees at the far edge of the property. That was when he saw her. Dusty stood alone near the tree line. Her head was low, and her body looked stiff, like she had been holding herself up for too long. Sam felt a small worry rise in his chest. He set the bucket down and walked across the field. As he got closer, he noticed Dusty was not shifting her weight the way a comfortable horse does. One leg stayed almost still. Her breathing was slow, but heavier than normal. Sam reached her and placed a calm hand on her neck. Dusty did not pull away. She did not flinch. Then Sam saw the injury. Her front leg was swollen near the lower joint. The hair was scraped, and there was dried dirt stuck to it. Dusty tried to lift the leg, but it hurt. She put it down again, careful and quiet, like she did not want to make trouble. Sam crouched and examined it the way he had done many times before. He had treated cuts, sprains, and bruises on animals since he was young. The swelling told him it was not brand new. Dusty had been hurt for at least a day, maybe more. "You should have come in," Sam said softly, more sad than angry. Dusty turned her head and looked at him. Her eyes were dark and steady. There was something in that look that made Sam pause. It was not fear. It was not confusion. It was intent. Sam stood up and took a slow breath. He needed to get her back to the barn. He needed to clean the wound, wrap it, and keep her off it for a while. He reached for the lead rope he carried, ready to guide her home. Dusty took one careful step. Not toward the ranch. She stepped toward the hills beyond the trees. Sam blinked, surprised. He tugged the rope gently, pointing back the way they came. Dusty did not resist, but she also did not follow. She just stood there, then took another step toward the hills. "Dusty," Sam said. "Home is the other way." Dusty stopped and looked back at him again. Her ears were forward. She made a quiet sound, small but clear, like she was insisting. Sam frowned. Horses could be stubborn, sure. But Dusty was not a difficult horse. She was the kind that followed the same path every day. This was different. Sam looked around the field. Everything seemed normal. No signs of predators. No strange movement. Just wind, grass, and long morning light. Still, the uneasy feeling inside him grew. Dusty took a third step toward the trees. Sam made a decision he did not fully understand in the moment. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was the strange certainty in the horse's eyes. Either way, he could not ignore it. "All right," he said quietly. "Slow and steady. I'm with you." Sam walked beside Dusty, keeping the rope loose, letting her choose the pace. Dusty moved carefully, but she did not stop. Her injured leg made her slower, but she was determined. She pushed forward as if she had a destination that mattered more than comfort. They crossed the tree line and entered rougher land. The grass grew uneven. Rocks and fallen branches made the ground harder to walk on. Sam rarely came out here. It was beyond the places he checked daily. The ranch was big, but the land beyond it felt bigger, wilder, and less familiar. As they went deeper, Sam noticed faint tracks in the dirt. Some were old, some newer. He could not tell what made them. He just knew someone or something had passed through recently. The wind shifted. It carried a smell Sam could not place at first. Old smoke, maybe. or wood that had been wet for a long time. Dusty kept going. Sam glanced at the sky. The sun had climbed higher. He knew he should get back and finish chores. But the part of him that wanted answers pulled him forward. After nearly an hour, the trees thinned. A small clearing opened ahead. Dusty slowed, then stopped, as if she was gathering strength for the final steps. Sam saw it. A cabin. It sat low against the ground, built from dark, weathered wood. Vines wrapped around parts of the walls like nature was trying to claim it back. One window was broken. The front door hung slightly open. The place looked abandoned, but not destroyed. It stood like a quiet warning. Sam felt his mouth go dry. No one lived out here. Not now. Not in the years he had worked this land. He had heard old stories from older ranchers about a cabin in the hills, but those stories were always told like jokes or half-truths. Sam never believed them. Now the cabin was real. Dusty stopped right in front of it and let out a long breath. Then she lowered her head, as if her job was done. Sam tied her to a sturdy post near the porch. He checked her leg again. The swelling was still there. She needed care. He told himself he would leave the cabin alone, take Dusty back, and return later with help if needed. But his feet did not move. The open door seemed to pull his attention like a magnet. Sam stepped closer, slow and cautious. The porch boards creaked under his boots. He rested his hand on the door and pushed gently. The door swung wider with a long, tired sound. Inside, the cabin was dim, but not empty. Dust floated in the light that slipped through cracks in the walls. There was a small table, a chair, and a narrow bed against the far wall. An old shelf held a few metal cups and a cracked plate. It was simple, like someone lived here without wanting to be noticed. Sam took another step and looked around. The air smelled like dust and old wood. But there was also something else. A faint smell of paper. Then he saw it. A wooden box sat in the center of the table. It was not covered in dust like the rest of the room. It looked handled. Used. On the lid was a carved symbol. Sam stared at it, and a cold chill ran through him that had nothing to do with the weather. He had seen that symbol before, long ago, connected to something he tried not to think about. His hand hesitated. His mind told him to leave. But his fingers lifted the lid anyway. Inside were letters. Not one or two. Dozens. They were stacked neatly and tied with old string. Some looked newer than others, but all of them were kept carefully, like they mattered. Sam picked up the first envelope. His heart started pounding hard. Written on the front, in clear handwriting, was his name. Sam. He stared at it for a long moment, unable to breathe properly. He slowly turned the envelope over. There was no return address. Only the same carved symbol pressed faintly into the paper, like a mark. His hands trembled as he opened it. The handwriting inside was familiar. So familiar that it made his stomach twist. It was from someone he had not seen in years. Someone he thought he would never hear from again. Outside, Dusty made a quiet sound, like a reminder that she had led him here for a reason. Sam stood alone in the cabin, holding the letter, realizing his life had just shifted in a way he could not yet understand. And whatever secret waited inside these walls was not finished with him. Sam stood inside the cabin for a long moment, holding the letter like it might disappear if he blinked. The wood beneath his boots creaked softly as a cold breeze slipped through the cracks in the walls. Outside, Dusty shifted her weight and snorted quietly. The sound pulled Sam back to the present. He closed the letter but did not put it down. His eyes moved across the room again, slower this time. The cabin was not abandoned in the way he first thought. Someone had cared for this place. The bed was made neatly. The cups on the shelf were washed. A small stack of firewood rested near the wall, dry and ready. Someone had lived here recently. Sam set the letter back in the box and sat down in the wooden chair. It creaked under his weight, but it held. He pressed his palms against his knees and tried to steady his breathing. His mind raced with questions, but one stood above the rest. Why here? He reached into the box again and picked up another letter. The date in the corner caught his eye. It was recent. Very recent. His chest tightened. That meant the writer was still alive. Still close enough to leave letters in a hidden cabin. Sam opened the letter carefully. The words inside were calm and clear. The writer spoke about the land, the seasons, and watching the sky change colors at dusk. Nothing dangerous. Nothing strange. But every line felt personal, like the writer knew Sam's thoughts even when he never spoke them out loud. Sam read slowly. The letter ended with a simple sentence. I am not ready to speak yet, but you needed to come here. Sam lowered the paper. His fingers curled around the edge of the table. He stood up and walked to the window. Through the broken glass, he could see Dusty waiting patiently. She looked tired, but calm, as if she trusted that Sam would do the right thing. You led me here, Sam said quietly. Did you know what I would find? The horse did not move. Sam stepped outside and checked Dusty's leg again. The swelling had not worsened, but she needed rest. He untied her and led her to a patch of grass near the cabin where the ground was softer. He gave her water from the bottle he carried and let her drink slowly. I won't be long, he told her. I promise. Back inside, Sam searched the cabin more carefully. He opened drawers, checked behind the shelf, and looked under the bed. He was not searching for danger. He was searching for answers. In one drawer, he found a small notebook. The pages were filled with neat writing. Daily notes about weather, repairs, and supplies. This was not the writing of someone hiding in fear. This was the writing of someone building a quiet life. A name appeared again and again in the notebook. Mark. Sam closed his eyes. Mark was a name he had not spoken in years. Not because it was forbidden, but because it hurt. Mark had been part of his life long before the ranch, before the quiet routines, before Sam learned how to live alone without asking questions. Mark had left suddenly. No explanation. No goodbye. Just silence. Until now. Sam sat back down and opened the notebook to the last page. The final entry was short. If the horse finds him, then it is time. Sam's breath caught. He read the line again to be sure. The horse. Dusty. This was not an accident. Sam stood and paced the small cabin. His thoughts felt tangled, but one thing became clear. Mark knew Sam would follow the horse. Mark knew Sam still trusted animals more than people. He had planned this carefully. But why not come himself? Why hide in the hills and speak only through letters? Sam stepped outside again. The sun was beginning to move west. He could not leave Dusty here overnight. He also could not walk away without understanding more. He made a decision. Sam led Dusty into the shade beside the cabin and made her comfortable. He cleaned her leg as best he could with the supplies he had, then wrapped it carefully. Dusty stood still, trusting him completely. Rest here, Sam said. I'll be back before dark. Sam followed a faint path that led behind the cabin. The ground showed signs of regular use. Someone walked this way often. The path led down toward a small stream. The sound of water grew louder as Sam approached. Near the stream, he found fresh footprints. Human footprints. His pulse quickened, but he did not feel afraid. He felt ready. Mark, Sam called out, his voice steady. The sound echoed softly through the trees, then faded. For a long moment, there was nothing. Then a figure stepped out from behind a cluster of trees. The man was thinner than Sam remembered, his hair touched with gray, his face marked by years of quiet living. But Sam knew him instantly. Some things never changed. Mark stopped a few steps away. His hands were open, empty. His eyes held a mix of relief and uncertainty. You came, Mark said. Sam nodded. You made sure I would. They stood there in silence, the stream flowing beside them. The years between them felt heavy, but not hostile. Just unfinished. I could not come to you, Mark said finally. Not until you chose to come to me. Sam crossed his arms, not angry, but guarded. You disappeared. You let me think you were gone forever. Mark lowered his head. I needed time. I needed to build something quiet. I needed to understand myself before I faced you. Sam wanted to argue. He wanted answers all at once. But the calm in Mark's voice slowed him. Why now? Sam asked. Mark glanced toward the cabin, then toward the ranch land beyond the hills. Because the land is changing. And because Dusty found me hurt last winter. I helped her. She remembered. Sam exhaled slowly. The pieces began to fit together. Mark met Sam's eyes. There is more you need to know. About the cabin. About why I stayed hidden. And about something that belongs to both of us. Sam looked back toward where Dusty waited, then at the man from his past. Then start talking, Sam said. Mark nodded. Come back to the cabin. It is time. As they walked together toward the trees, Sam knew that the real secret was not just inside the cabin. It was in the choices that had led both of them here. And the truth was only beginning to surface. Sam and Mark walked back toward the cabin in silence. The path felt shorter this time, but heavier. Leaves shifted under their boots, and the sound of the stream faded behind them. Sam kept his eyes forward, letting his thoughts settle. Mark walked a step behind, as if giving Sam space to lead. When the cabin came into view, Dusty lifted her head. She gave a soft sound and relaxed again when she saw Sam. Mark smiled faintly at the horse. She trusted you would come, Mark said. She always trusted people who stayed calm. Sam nodded but said nothing. He checked Dusty's leg again, then tied her securely in the shade. Mark watched closely. You took care of her, Mark said. Thank you. She took care of me first, Sam replied. Inside the cabin, the light felt warmer than before. The place no longer felt like a mystery. It felt like a shelter that had been waiting. Sam sat at the table, and Mark took the chair near the bed. You deserve the truth, Mark said. All of it. Sam folded his hands. Start from the beginning. Mark took a deep breath. When I left years ago, it was not because of anger. It was because I learned something about this land. Something no one else knew. Sam raised an eyebrow. About the ranch. Yes, Mark said. And about what lies beneath the hills. Mark reached under the bed and pulled out a small metal case. He placed it gently on the table and opened it. Inside were maps, old papers, and a worn notebook. These belonged to my father, Mark said. He worked this land before anyone talked about fences or property lines. Sam leaned forward, curious. He discovered a natural spring, Mark continued. A deep one. Clean water that never dried. During hard years, it kept animals alive when other places failed. Sam's eyes widened slightly. I never knew. No one did, Mark said. My father kept it secret. He believed the land should be protected, not drained or sold piece by piece. Mark slid one map across the table. A small mark near the hills matched the area behind the cabin. The cabin was built to guard the spring, Mark said. Not to hide people. To hide water. Sam sat back slowly. That kind of water would attract attention. Yes, Mark said. And attention brings trouble. I stayed here to make sure no one found it. Sam looked at the letters in the wooden box. And the letters. I wrote them because I could not face you yet, Mark said honestly. But I needed you to know. The land is changing. People are coming. Developers. Surveyors. They will push outward. Sam thought of the recent offers he had ignored. Men in clean boots asking strange questions. They asked me about water, Sam said quietly. Mark nodded. That is why now matters. Sam stood and walked to the window. The hills rolled calmly under the sky. Nothing about them looked special. That was the danger. "You should have told me sooner," Sam said. "I know," Mark replied. "But I was afraid you would refuse. Afraid you would sell." Sam turned. "Do you think I would sell this land without knowing its heart?" Mark met his eyes. "I do not think that anymore." They stepped outside together. Mark led Sam behind the cabin, along a narrow path covered by brush. After a few minutes, they reached a hidden opening between rocks. Cool air flowed from below. Mark moved aside branches, revealing a stone entrance. "The spring is down there," Mark said. "Protected by nature. It needs guardians who understand patience." Sam knelt and touched the stone. It was cold and steady. "What do you want from me?" Sam asked. Mark's voice was calm. "I want us to protect it together. You have the ranch. I have the knowledge. Alone, it is risky. Together, it can stay hidden." Sam thought of Dusty, of the letters, of the careful planning. He realized this was never just about secrets. It was about trust. "Why me?" Sam asked softly. Mark smiled. "Because you listen. Because you follow when something feels right. Because the horse chose you." They returned to the cabin as evening light spread across the land. Sam made a small fire and heated water. They shared a simple meal. No rush. No tension. For the first time in years, Sam felt like something lost was being returned. But deep inside, he also knew that keeping the secret would not be easy. People were already moving closer. Questions would grow louder. As night settled, Sam stepped outside and looked at the stars. Dusty rested quietly nearby. The land was calm, but change was coming. And the cabin was no longer just a place from the past. It was a responsibility for the future. Morning light reached the cabin slowly. It slid across the wooden walls and touched the floor like a quiet promise. Sam woke early, as he always did. For a moment, he forgot where he was. Then he heard Dusty shift outside and remembered everything. He stepped out and breathed in the cool air. The hills looked peaceful, but Sam knew peace could be fragile. Dusty stood near the post, calmer now. The swelling in her leg had gone down a little. Sam cleaned the wrap and replaced it carefully. Dusty watched him with steady eyes. "You did your part," Sam said softly. "Now let me do mine." Mark came out carrying a small pan of water. "She is strong," he said. "She will heal." Sam nodded. "She already has." They shared a quiet breakfast near the cabin. Simple food, warm and grounding. As they ate, Sam noticed faint engine sounds far away. He froze and listened. Mark heard it too. "They are closer than I thought," Mark said. Sam stood and looked toward the distant road beyond the hills. A thin cloud of dust rose and fell. "Vehicles. Surveyors," Sam said. "They have been stopping by the ranch more often." Mark's face tightened. "Then we do not have much time." They walked behind the cabin again, toward the hidden stone entrance. Sam studied the ground carefully. He saw where Mark had worked to keep paths hidden, where leaves were placed back into place to erase signs of movement. "You have done this alone for too long," Sam said. Mark nodded. "I was afraid to trust anyone else." Sam placed a hand on the stone. "You are not alone now." They spent the morning planning. Sam knew the land from the surface. Mark knew what lay beneath. Together, they spoke quietly about boundaries, water rights, and how attention could be redirected. Sam remembered old laws his father once talked about, rules that protected natural springs if they were used for animals and local needs. "We can register the spring as part of the ranch use," Sam said. "Not for sale. Not for extraction." Mark's eyes brightened. "That would make it protected." "It will also make people stop digging," Sam added. "They do not like limits." Before they could say more, the sound of engines grew louder. 2 trucks appeared on the ridge, moving slowly, stopping, then moving again. Sam took a deep breath. I will go meet them. Mark hesitated. I should stay hidden. Sam shook his head. Not today. Today, we stand together. They walked back to the cabin front. Sam untied Dusty and led her a short distance into view. She stood calmly, like she belonged exactly where she was. The trucks stopped. 2 men stepped out, holding clipboards and maps. Their clothes were clean, their boots new. They smiled politely as they approached. Morning, one of them said. We are checking land features in the area. Sam nodded. You are on private land. The man smiled again. We just need to confirm water sources. Sam rested a hand on Dusty's neck. This land supports my animals. Always has. The second man glanced at the cabin. We did not know anyone lived out here. Sam's voice stayed steady. This cabin is part of the ranch. Mark stepped forward beside Sam. Calm. Present. I maintain it, Mark said. And I protect what matters. The men exchanged looks. One wrote something down. We will note that, he said. There may be follow-up. Sam met their eyes. You will need permission. The men nodded, returned to their trucks, and drove away. The dust settled slowly, like the land exhaling. Mark released a breath he had been holding. That could have gone worse. It could have, Sam said. But now they know we are watching. They returned inside the cabin. Sam pulled out his phone and began making calls. Old contacts. People who respected the land. He spoke clearly and calmly, explaining the need to protect water for animals and long-term use. Mark listened, impressed. You always were good at steady work, Mark said. Sam smiled slightly. I learned by staying. By afternoon, Dusty walked a few careful steps on her own. Sam watched closely, pride warming his chest. The horse had led him to the truth and was now finding her way back to strength. As the sun lowered, Sam and Mark walked to the hidden spring. Mark moved stones carefully and revealed the entrance. Cool air rose again. Sam listened. The sound of water was soft but constant. This is the heart of the land, Sam said. Yes, Mark replied. And hearts must be protected. They closed the entrance and restored the cover exactly as it was. No signs. No marks. Just earth and stone as it should be. That evening, they sat outside the cabin and watched the sky turn gold, then deep blue. The stars appeared one by one. Sam felt tired, but not heavy. He felt ready. This place changed both of us, Mark said quietly. Sam nodded. It brought us back to what matters. In the distance, the ranch lights flickered on. Life continued. Work waited. But something important had shifted. The land had been tested. And it had held. The final morning at the cabin arrived with soft light and cool air. Sam stepped outside before Mark woke up. The land was still, wrapped in silence that felt earned, not empty. Dusty stood nearby, resting on all 4 legs now. The swelling was almost gone. She lifted her head when she saw Sam and took a few steady steps toward him. Sam smiled. You did good, he said, rubbing her neck. Dusty lowered her head calmly, her job complete. Sam looked across the hills. The land felt different now. Not changed, but understood. He realized that the cabin, the spring, the letters, and even Dusty were all part of the same story. A story about patience, trust, and choosing to protect instead of take. Mark stepped outside, pulling his jacket tighter. She looks better, he said. She is, Sam replied. So is the land. They packed the few things Mark needed to bring back to the ranch. The cabin would remain, quiet and watched, but no longer lonely. Before leaving, Mark walked through each room slowly, touching the walls like he was saying goodbye without words. This place kept me grounded, Mark said. But I do not need to hide anymore. Sam nodded. The ranch has space. They walked back together, Dusty moving ahead of them, leading again but this time toward home. The path felt easier now, familiar. When they reached the open land near the ranch, Sam stopped and looked back once more at the hills. The cabin disappeared into the trees, just as it was meant to. Life on the ranch changed slowly. Not in loud ways. In steady ones. Sam filed the paperwork to protect the water source as part of long-term ranch use. The questions from outsiders faded when limits were set clearly. People moved on to easier places. Mark settled into ranch life quietly. He did repairs, helped with animals, and walked the land daily. He never spoke much about the years he spent alone, and Sam never pushed. Some understanding did not need words. Dusty healed fully. She returned to her old place in the herd, steady and calm. But Sam noticed something new. She often stayed near the fence that faced the hills, watching quietly, like a guardian who knew her duty was complete but her awareness remained. One evening, Sam and Mark sat on the porch as the sun lowered. The land stretched wide and peaceful. "You could have ignored the horse," Mark said. "Most people would have." Sam thought for a moment. "The land speaks," he said. "Sometimes through animals. Sometimes through silence." Mark smiled. "My father believed that." Weeks passed. Seasons shifted. The ranch stayed strong. One afternoon, Sam found a new letter in the wooden box at the cabin. He had returned alone to check on things. The letter was short. Written in Mark's careful hand. "The land is safe because you chose to listen." Sam folded the letter and placed it back. The box no longer felt heavy. It felt complete. As Sam rode back toward the ranch, Dusty walking beside him, he understood something clearly. Secrets were not always meant to shock or frighten. Some existed to protect what could not protect itself. The cabin would remain hidden. The spring would remain pure. And the promise made between the land and those who respected it would hold, quiet and strong, for as long as someone listened. The story did not end with noise or applause. It ended with trust. And that was enough.